right. Good to meet you, bro. I was watching some of your videos today, and I tell you, I started astral projecting back in about 2013, and ever since then, my mind's been blown. I've been sharing with everyone I could, and could not get one person to go for it, to try. And
Oh
I'm telling
wow.
people, I'm like, bro, this is what I tell people. You have to astral project because half your life you're wasting asleep when you could be having wild adventures and
Yeah.
flying and doing things. And like when I started, I like to tell people the movie Ghost, exactly what Patrick Swayze went through is what I went through. And I'm like, you want the this is before, Doctor Strange came out. I was like, yeah, Doctor Strange, this is real. This is how it is. I was so excited,
Yeah.
like to tell
It's a
people it's
lot
like
like
this.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And now, on hearing that it can be widened in ways you can't imagine, you reject the possibility.
No, I reject it because I do not believe in fairy tales about chakras or energy or the power of belief. There is no such thing as spirit. We are made of matter and nothing more. You're just another tiny, momentary speck within an indifferent universe.
You think too little of yourself.
Oh, you think you see through me, do you? Well, you don't. But I see through you! What did you just do to me?
I pushed your astral form out of your physical form.
What's in that tea? Psilocybin? LSD?
It's just tea. With a little honey.
What just happened?
For a moment, you entered the astral dimension.
But I would use
For
in
real.
the beginning, I would use Ghost
Okay.
because when in the movie when Patrick first puts his arm through the wood door, I went through that same experience, feeling the texture of the wood in my arm. It was so mind-blowing. And so now finding you and listening to your stories, you're the first person I found that's had experience anywhere close to the experiences I've had. And and it's just exciting. Like I spoke to Arcturus. Part of this new channel, one of the things I'll be doing is interviewing other astro projectors. Because Arcturus is the first person I'm going to speak to who astro projects. Like as long as I've been doing it and everybody I've been telling about it, I've never spoke to anyone who actually does it. So it's great to speak to you, Arcturus. And how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Harry. Yeah, it's not every day we have the opportunity of talking with other astral travelers, right?
Yeah. But he had great experiences too, because we talked on and off camera. But your experiences was like, okay, this is my man here. This is now we're talking about what I'm talking about. And anyway, it's really great to meet you, a fellow astral projector, and especially someone as advanced as you are. I'm cracking up now because I'm thinking of the video I just watched of you talking about you on the ship wearing this hood, and you were like, "Rrr." It just had me cracking up.
Oh,
It's
the
so
the
good.
the black-hooded one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
The
little
velvet.
I'm pretty mischievous too in the astral. When you kind of when it's kind of your milieu, you know what I mean? It's like it's my environment. I've spent countless thousands of hours lucid there. So you know, you kind of you have to embrace your shadow self. You know what I mean? You really have to embrace that shadow self and work through the shadow aspects of your being in order to even operate there, in order to even, because, you know, there are some dark things that can happen. We're not all love and light beings, you know, and this is just one of the things that, you know, is so important, is this integration. If we want to, you know, make our journey back to source, we really have to embrace all the aspects of ourselves and all
Yeah.
the facets of that we are, you know.
Yeah,
So
100% agree. And that's why I tell people, I try not to tell people about the scary side, so it's not in
yeah,
their
me
head.
too.
Yeah, because that was the first thing I experienced. And it's funny because when I started this journey, I was seeking more information. Like, you know, I was asking the churches and different religions, and the I was going to a Buddhist temple back when I lived in New York City, and I asked, was it a Buddhist? It was some temple, and I went there and asked them, and one guy was familiar with it, and he gave me a book. I don't know where it is, but he said this book, one of their Buddhist monk hundreds of years ago left the body, ran into one of these entities that I ran into my first day out, which was the most terrifying thing ever. He had that experience, and his recommendation was never do it again. I was like, "Are you nuts? You can
uh,
never do it." I was like, "All right, he
yeah.
got scared. He got to go at it again."
Oh,
So,
I have been so scared. Like I know that these beings are just mere, you know, of just different aspects of myself because I am source. And I remember this haunted house that I was in, and these demon ghosts coming up from the floor, grabbing my hands and trying to pull me down. And I just grabbed them back, and I was just like, all right, I'm going to try to pull you up. You're going to try to pull me. And I just, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things you just have to have no fear
yeah,
going into this. And I won that battle. You know what I mean? I was so scared. I was so scared and frozen and shaking when I was, you know, in the dream, fully lucid in the dream, in the astral. I was so scared. I was shaking and everything, but it was this inner strength inside where it's just like, I don't care if I'm
yeah,
scared. It doesn't matter if I'm scared. You know what I mean? This is just another projection of
right.
myself. This is just something that I need to embrace. And that is really powerful place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, I'll tell people because I want them to go for it. Like what I went through to have my first experience, I was just hardcore 3 hours meditating every day, listening to guided meditations for astral projecting, and it took me 3 months before I finally had my first experience. So, and you know, I tell people, and some of the responses is prove it. I'm like, oh my God, how am I supposed to prove it? The only way I could possibly prove it is if I could leave my body, remain in the same timeline, and visit their house and say, hey, I saw you wrote something down. Other than actually go,
Yeah.
there's no way for me to prove it. I said, you got to do this experience. But then people just, everybody I've spoken to for years, I had one person who listened to the guided meditation, got to the vibration, but didn't get out of his body. But he was like, he knew everything I was saying to him was true because the vibration was proven. I told him, I said, you're going to vibrate like you've never vibrated before. And that happens. I was excited to hear he got to the vibration, but he just stopped. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
People get scared right around that level.
yeah, yeah. Or
I
they
can
get
skip
excited
those.
and
I
just
can skip
come
those
out of it.
levels. Yeah, I can skip those levels now.
Yeah, that's
I can
awesome. That's the ideal place.
I can just go in. I can just go in, and then I can turn my consciousness off, and I can just wake up. You know, I can do the wild method where you're conscious all the way, but that just takes a while.
Yeah.
Or I can just do the DILD method where it's dream induced lucid dream, where I just wake up in the dream.
Yeah.
All this stuff just happens naturally now. It's just a natural thing. You know, depending on my frequency, if my frequency is high enough, it'll just happen. But I've been doing it, I mean, every single night, you know, several times a night. And I'll always go back into the same, I'll go back into the same dream. Like if I'm, you know, if something is going on with dragons in my lucid dreaming, or in my regular dreaming even, if something is going on with dragons and I wake up and I go pee and feed my cat and go back into it, I'll go right back and pick up where I left off in the dream.
Yeah.
And I'll wake
That's
up
great.
and I'll go right back again, because I'm in that same, I'm embedded in that same area of the array or whatever. I'm a frequency match to that, the frequency match to that environment, or to that same
Yeah.
thing. I don't know if that happens to you at all, but that's a normal thing for me to go right back into the same dream.
Yeah. I have to tell you for myself, I haven't practiced at all in a few years. Pretty much since I moved from New York. Because when I was living in New York, I had a routine, and I was practicing leaving the body almost every day. But the most importantly was throughout the day, I was getting in at least 3 hours of meditation a day, which is what helped me massively. Because, you know, my big issue was just getting excited. As soon as I got to vibration state, I get excited. So I just had to chill. And without the meditation, it was hard to chill because I'd be all over the place. There'd be nights I might spend 3 hours laying on my back awake, trying to get out of my body, you know, just doing what I call a roller coaster. I'll get up, I'll start vibrating, and I get excited and I get out. And so I might go up and down, you know, a bunch of times throughout the night where I just reached the vibration state. But lately, because I moved, I'm still working on building a house. We got some pets now. My dogs, they'll jump on me, they'll jump on my while I'm laying down. So it's really difficult right now in my current location. I did build a meditation dome, but I haven't put a door on there yet because I'm out in those sticks out here. I got bears and mountain lions and all that other good stuff.
Did you
So
see did you see my video about taking your physical body into the
yeah,
astral?
yeah, that was the last video I saw about taking the physical body.
You know, I did the out of body stuff for years and years and years. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to handle the idea of getting out of your body. If we understand that everything is astral, even the physical world is astral, and we understand that our body is just an idea, then we can take that idea of having a physical body with us into the astral, and it can you can take a shortcut. You could save a lot of time and a lot of energy by taking because the noises and the vibrations and all that is the idea of you separating from your body. That's where that comes from.
Okay.
So if you don't have so basically those ideas, those vibrations and the rumbling and the loud noises and the stuff, you know, when you start to get excited, that's your idea of separating from your body. So if you don't any longer have that idea, now you really have to change your perceptual agreements. And this is very kind of more advanced stuff where you start to really control your reality, and your reality isn't being dictated by what the collective believes,
Right.
because the collective believes that you need to get out of your body in order to get into the astral. But
Yeah.
that's not true. It's not true. In
No, what
fact,
you're
that's the
saying
long
makes
way around.
100% sense because I learned it from my first projection. My very first was the most powerful. And I say that because when I left my body, I saw the matrix. I saw how everything was made up of vibrating dots of light. My furniture, the walls, the trees and grass were brighter light than the concrete walls, and people were the brightest. And my very first experience was the most amazing because I was a good 30 seconds for my first time in the astral realm before running into an entity that was when when I popped out, I'm seeing everything. I'm like, oh shit, it's like the Matrix. Everything is vibrating dots of light, and I'm just looking around. I'm noticing all my senses are super heightened, and my vision,
Mm.
I can see through the walls, and I'm able to zoom in to something far away. And so I was enjoying it like thoroughly for a good 30 seconds. And then I looked to my left, and in the next building, over somebody's head, I saw a dark entity. And I must have been giving it too much attention because it looked at me like it felt me looking at it. And within a second, it went from, the 60 feet away to right here in my face. Dark, scaly skin, sharp, pointy teeth, protruding cheekbones. They really stick out. And I knew this was real. And when I woke up or when I snapped out of it, I was literally in the air landing. That's how terrified I was of this thing. And after that, I didn't try it again for 6 months until I took a trip to Germany, and it's a small town like 20,000 people. I was in Brooklyn in the projects. A lot of bad energy is what I'm getting at. And so when I was in Germany, I felt comfortable, and my entire 2 weeks in Germany, I told my wife, I'm just gonna stay in bed. This is all I want to do right now. And I didn't even hardly go anywhere. I just stood in bed practicing leaving the body, practicing going through the walls and getting it all figured out because each thing was such a new sensation. It would pop me out of my body, pop me back into my body. And I was like, shit. And then I had to go for it again. So it was very, very fun. And again, like I say, I try almost everybody that I meet, I tell them about my astral projection stories. And I've also bilocated. When I was in 2016, I went to India. I was at an ashram doing some meditation there, and I was in a room with like 1,200 people, and I bilocated. I went from being in this room practicing this meditation techniques to being on Mars in front of a black pyramid that was open when I got there with lights that were highlighting the edges with a red light. And as I turned around to look around at where I was, and my intuition told me I was on Mars, I turned
Mm.
back and the pyramid had finished closing. It sealed up, so I didn't get in. And then I could see the dust was sticking to it. So within seconds, it was camouflaged again. It was under dust. And so I was like, this is what's going on. I said, okay, these structures, well, that was a one bilocation experience. I think that was the only one where I was in a room and it was on Mars, and then for a few seconds, and then I popped back and I was back in the room where I was. So I was told it was a bilocation. That's what
Yep.
I was told it's called. I didn't know. I was just whatever. I popped up over there. But yeah, I had many, many wild and really cool experiences. My last two experiences were last year, the beginning of last year. I just had this drive told me make a video and talk about your experiences and just share it. I don't care about views or anything. I just had to get the information out for people. So
Yeah.
January 1st last year is when I started Experience Within channel just to get out, my experiences and give people some of the things that got me to where I got to as far as different books where, Journey of Souls, besides the Robin Monroe one, there were some other ones of people talking about afterlife, dying, and then coming back. And after all those different things, that all helped to get rid of my fear way back when of death. Once the death fear was gone, all fear was gone. I had no more fear. Now the only thing I had to work on, and remember, I'm in New York City, was being more loving, because I got angry at people cutting me off, this and that. And so it took months of me training myself to take an angry thought and flip it into something beautiful. Instead of thinking, oh, I wish I could throw a brick at the back of this guy because of what he just did, I said, oh, I wish I could throw some flowers at him and make him pretty. Just reversing that. So it was months of doing that that got me to a loving state that was extremely powerful. I mean, I done one meditation workshop from Drunvalo Melchizedek called Awakening the Illuminated Heart. And in this workshop, it was a 4-day workshop, and I learned probably what's probably the most powerful meditation you can learn. It was so powerful that my second day meditating, I could see through my third eye. I had Alex Gray's mindfold mask on that lets no light in. My eyes were closed. I was doing a meditation. I have these Torus coils that I make. You can see in this picture right here. I'm holding
Oh,
that right.
cool.
So that's made out of copper wire,
Hmm.
and I program different frequencies through it. So I have one of those sitting in front of me that I brought to the workshop, and I'm in this meditate, and boom, all of a sudden, I'm seeing the entire room as if it was lit by a 25-watt light bulb, very low light. And so it was so freaky and unexpected that I took my mask off. I was like, I told the facilitator who was teaching, I was like, I just saw the entire room, my eyes closed and the mask on. He's like, yeah, you saw it through your third eye, dude. I was like, oh, cool. And that happened randomly, probably a good 7 times from the first time. I never intentionally attempted to activate it. And I like to tell people that's how Daredevil sees his through his third eye.
Hmm.
Uh, because we literally have this. And so every time it's happened to me, I was either sleeping and woke up with my eyes closed and was able to see. And I was like, oh, my eyes closed and I could still see the room. And so that happened a good 7 times to me, unintentional. I didn't intend it to happen. So very powerful. The meditation's powerful. The techniques that I ended up developing myself about loving and projecting love just made me even more powerful because I would go through the day holding the feeling of love in my heart, and the only thing you do is remember the feeling, not what got you there. It could be a kitty, it could be birth of a child, a beautiful scenery somewhere, and you like, oh man, you just feel the love in your heart for it. So what causes it is not important and not to be focused on. Just remembering the feeling and then hold that all day. Be conscious of that. And so as I did this, I also envisioned a white bubble of light. And my whole plan was I'm taking this with me to the Astral. I say the more I develop and practice this in this 3D reality, just walking around working and envisioning a light as I'm talking to people and working, envisioning this bubble and feeling that love in my heart just made me so powerful because later I'll give you some quick stories and then I'll get to why I wanted to talk to you. The later on, I'm staying by my mother's house with my wife, and my brother just had a little girl, and so my wife and I we were in the basement, and for like a week straight, my niece was waking up. She was like 8 months old or something, maybe a year old. She'd wake up and be screaming at the top of her lungs, facing the corner of the room. There's no windows or anything. It was just the corner of the room. And, everyone was like, what's wrong? Trying to figure it out. So I go there. After I heard, I was like, oh, it must be something in the room. So I told my mother, you should say a prayer. I went sage the room. And that night, for 3 nights straight, my wife and I were getting attacked in our dreams. We were getting some vicious nightmares. And on the third night, similar to what you just said, I'm in like this abandoned warehouse, right? All scary looking. I'm walking through and I see a entity kind of reminds me of the it creature, the way it was moving, very erratic, and normally it would be a scary thing to see, but I've been training, projecting love, and I saw this creature, this entity, and I wasn't fearful at all. I went to it and I grabbed it and I hugged it. I told you I love you, brother. And it vanished. Nightmares vanished. Baby stopped crying. Like eliminated the evil or the dark entities that were roaming in the house. And so, I and then I took that once I did that and proved it to myself, I just went in hardcore into the Astro. I was like, untouchable, because at first I was going in there with swords and lightsabers, in case something came up to me. And I was fortunate enough to not run into a lot of entities because my intentions when I was doing my astral projection was just to do simple stuff, just float around and fly around the neighborhood and and because my whole thing was I'm trying to gain knowledge from the astral realm. I tell people all the time you could learn so much in the astral realm. Once you develop it, you could touch a book and absorb knowledge. I know people who've done it. I haven't done that myself yet, but I know these things are possible. What I have done in this reality that I want to share with you as well is I had some I had a friend who was I guess you could say he was psychic, right? He didn't say he was psychic. He just said he was really good at guessing people's birthdays, right? And he was really good at it. So one day we're hanging out. He goes, Harry, I want to guess your birthday. I was all right. I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, just say it in your mind to me. And I shouted in my mind so loud that this was the first time I felt this. I was looking at him, right? He was, as far as my camera is to me, about arm's length away from me. I shouted my birthday to him. And not only did I feel a wave of energy leave me, I could feel it hit him and go through him. I felt the energy. And I could see he was like, I blew him away. It was like I lit an explosive next to him. I shouted so loud, he was not ready for that. And he was like, I didn't even pick anything up. I felt this wave of energy hit me and it threw me off. And I was like, that's wild because I felt it hit you too. And so basically what I learned is that energy at this time, while I was astral projecting, I also started juicing and started feeling my own energy, my own chi energy. I wasn't calling it that. Everything was a self-discovery. But this energy I was feeling, and I was making this energy between my hands so strong that anybody put their hand between mine, even if my arms were wide apart, they all said it felt like opposing magnets when they put their hands between mine. And then, I would send energy up their arm, and I was even making energy balls and throwing it at people. I'd say, close your eyes. I don't want you to be distracted by my movements. And I do basically like a Tai Chi type movements to build up this energy. Later, I learned Qi Gong is better for it, but I was doing like a Tai Chi thing. And that was something I learned by accident too. After I started playing with energy, I was like, oh, this is what Tai Chi is about. Moving these energy. Even now, when I put my hands here, I could feel it so strong. So what I'm getting at is telepathy is a pressure wave. If I want to communicate with someone or they want to communicate with me, you will literally feel energy over your head. And this is one sign that you have a link that you could communicate with. And it's important for the energy, for the hands from me, because the more I practice becoming aware of these energies, the more sensitive I became to being able to pick up different plants. I could put my hands over a bush or different foods, and I could feel the different energy things. And I was like, oh, I just wish I didn't stop because I would be so much more powerful now because I was practicing every day back then. And the energy was so powerful that I got to the point to start thinking, okay, if in the astral realm I could practice manifesting something in my hand and take something very common like a mouse, right, for a computer, and if I can make it manifest in the astral, and the more I could practice manifesting in the astral, I felt like I can bring that into the 3D reality. Because once I'm practicing it in the astral, manifesting something solid as can be, And depending on what I'm trying to manifest, I'll either have extreme details about the item or I'll have a shape and let higher self fill it in. But I'm usually practicing something simple. And so I was practicing that for a little while. I stopped. When I stopped, I had just begun trying that practice. I was like, I need to manifest. And the more I can manifest, then I can not attempt, but I can manifest in reality. And so that's something I believe is possible. Now, some of these beliefs also come from some of the books, like Autobiography of a Yogi. Paramahansa Yogananda speaks about his gurus and how they were basically teleporting to locations and manifesting castles and everything. So I felt my intuition said these stories are true. You just have to practice them. And I figured that out because of the energies. I said, man, if I could become very sensitive in this reality to the energies around me, and if I can remember how a room feels energetically, I think this is the technique you need to teleport. If I can remember, like, if say I've been to your place before and I know that room and that painting, and I say, okay, I know the vibration. I feel this is the technique to teleport. But you have to be sensitive to the energies. And the Paramahansa and his gurus, they were all extremely sensitive to energies. And so I think this is a key thing to learn and to practice being sensitive to energy in this reality. And in combination with practicing in the astral realm, I feel this is the steps needed to take the next level, the next step to be in this 3D reality doing things that would be considered amazing. But meanwhile, it's something we can all do. It's just we're not trained for this, you know? This is I'm completely self-taught, and as I learned things in my self-teaching, I was able to relate things like, for example, like Tai Chi. You know, I seen in being in New York City, I've seen Tai Chi almost every day. I worked in Chinese neighborhoods where they're out in the park doing Tai Chi. And I just look and say, okay, that's very interesting, but you know, so what? But until I started making my own energy and literally feeling the energy in my hand, and I could probably, if I was sensitive enough now, I could make you feel it, but I haven't practiced in a while. And when I was vegan, my energy was much higher than now. I'm straight up carnivore now, but I still feel the energy. So I'm not too sure if that has a lot to do with it. I just know vegan, my energy was off the charts. And I think because I was doing a lot of juicing, which is a lot of fasting, I had almost no solid food in my body. You know, almost 8 months, my wife and I, we did a juice fast, 15 ingredients. So fasting just makes you energetically off the charts as well as deep breathing. So those were some of the things that I learned. But my mission lately, because of intuition, and this is, I wanted to get your feelings and intuition on what I'm about to tell you and show you, is that I 100% believe the pyramids were energy source as well as to help people leave the body. And so based on information that my intuition tells me, based on information that I learned from Dan Winter and some other energetic sources, what I came to. Then I could place the airform in that hole and again fill the cavity with a high quartz cement mix to make myself an underground cistern tank for my water. Now, the geometry of the egg shape will help to keep the water in constant movement because of the temperature difference of the water touching the walls of the shell to the temperature of the water at the center of the tank will cause a natural circulation, being we're in an egg-shaped geometry.
That's right. There's a
so now
heating effect. That temperature differential starts a vortex turning.
Yes. And so now you don't have to worry about your water becoming stagnant,
Right.
and it's being charged for you. And then you can go the extra step. And what I haven't done yet, what I'm going to, because I saw a recent experiment, was the impeller that was found in Egypt. Works incredible for creating vortex of water. If you spin that impeller, I was going to use the Tesla impeller until I saw a demonstration of this impeller that was found in Egypt. Works amazingly for creating a vortex in the
Because you
water
need
as well.
non-fractionating, and that makes it implosive. So it's smooth, where the Tesla turbine was also flat. So there's a whole subject here of how you make an implosive vortex, a charged vortex becomes centripetal. And the thing about Aircrete Harry, he's brave enough, he's got the gadgets and the toys and the equipment's been doing this and understands high dielectric. So thank you, Aircrete. We need to do more with your pictures of that later. That was so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll definitely get something together for another day and really give you guys a demonstration.
Super, super. I was talking to Scott the other day. He was talking to me about working with you, and everybody loves it. It's all cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, this is super. So this is a perfect intro to what we're talking about tonight, how a charged vortex makes gravity. I'm Dan Winter, fractalu.com, fractalfield.com. And Tufan, I already turned on the recording and the YouTube because Harry was so much fun. I just couldn't resist.
Great.
So we are going to do a little intro, but I think first, actually, maybe we'll start with announcements. Should we go ahead with the announcements?
My intuition told me that if I built something like a pyramid or just an energy device that someone can get into, I felt like I could enhance the astral projection experience, the out of body experience. I can vibrate a person's energy. So, what I have here now, I've been intending on building what I'm about to show you, but I have a bucket truck that I need. And right now, my bucket truck is out. I need my bucket truck to be able to lift this airform up in the air so that I can spray cement on it to make it. What I have here is I have an airform that was made in the shape of an egg. Now, the egg is the most ideal shape for life. Because of the difference in size, the egg shape has a push-pull effect. So it creates a toroid, you know? You
Mm-hmm.
have a vortex of energy that's created. So this airform I had made, it was intended to make water tanks. But my first thing I'm actually going to make with it is a meditation chamber. And what I intend to do is spray a mix of cement onto this airform with tons of quartz crystal chips that I have will get mixed into the cement so I can get a piezoelectric effect. Then the inside will be completely covered in silver leafing. It'll have a mirror reflection on the inside, and the outside will be a gold leafing. So I just want you to see this is the airform. So what I'm intending on making is this meditation chamber, and my feeling is my intuition tells me when I make it the way I intend to make it, it's going to help vibrate anyone who gets inside of its energy back at them and help them pop out of their body. And I feel someone who knows nothing about it could go into this room, either have a nightmare or an out of body experience. One of the two is going to happen. I don't doubt it. I mean, where I am located, it's not so bad because where you're located and the energy around you would affect, and I feel like basically this is like a cerebral, right? Is that the name from the X-Men? The cerebral, that room.
Okay. Yeah.
It's-
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's something like that for your energetic body, and then obviously, if you have the intention to leave, you'll leave. Otherwise, you may just get blissed out from being inside of it. Now, that's my intuition, and again, once I get the bucket truck fixed, I can lift this up so I can spray it. Because once it's been sprayed, it's gonna be really heavy, and I can't move it. It'll be probably over 1,000 pounds with
Mm-hmm.
cement on it. Okay, so this is just a rendering so you could kind of get an idea. So the airform you saw, and that's the shape. But basically, this is how I'm planning on designing it. And like I mentioned, imagine the outside is gold leaf and the inside is silver leaf. The outside gold leaf is to keep bad energies out. The inside silver leaf is to enhance and reflect your own energy back at you. And so that's the purpose for the two precious metals, the gold on the outside and silver leaf on the inside. I wanted to get your intuition, your thoughts. Maybe if your next trip to the astral realm, you're gonna ask higher self or something. Your thoughts on this?
I
Um,
mean, about a week ago, I was in a pod, something like that, flying around. I think that if it creates a toroid and you're already your body is already creating a toroid, so if this enhances that effect, I think it could probably do exactly what you're talking about. You know, I wouldn't know without experimenting it and trying it. You know, but it's an interesting concept. I've never seen anything like that before.
have you heard of Kozarev mirrors?
It sounds familiar.
So basically, back in the 30s or 40s or so, Kozarev is the name of the person. And what he did was some simple geometry using like aluminum plates. So he have like a Fibonacci spiral,
Hmm.
have these metal plates about 5 feet tall in the shape of that spiral, and someone would get in the center and have experiences, psychic experiences, or they would make a tube, kind of like a MRI machine, but the whole thing's just made of a sheet of metal, and you'd put a mattress in it, and you'd get in this bed. So I had tried some experiments in the past that weren't very successful, but I also didn't follow the proper procedures because of the situation. I had to change it and not do it exactly. I ended up making a square box instead of a circular shape, like the two shapes, the Fibonacci spiral or just a tube. And I think that's a big thing because the circular shape will reflect at you. Whereas, well, anyway, long story short, based on information that I'd learned from, and I learned that from David Wilcock on his wisdom teaching program when he used to have it on Gaia. And all about the Kozarev and the mirrors and all these experiments that were done. Even I think Kozarev is the same guy who came up with the energy that comes off a beehive. Have you ever heard of that? If you had like a beehive, dead beehive, the geometry of that shape puts an energy out that you can literally feel. You ever heard of
Hmm.
that?
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so these some very simple things. Even a stack of egg cartons would have the same effect. It has to be cardboard egg cartons. Because of the geometry, it'll have an energetic effect. And so there are things that I've experimented with. I've done a lot of experimenting in my life with tools. Like, you can leave at will because you've practiced for many years. My goal has been to try and help somebody who's never done it, maybe even never heard of it, have an
Hmm.
experience first time out.
Hmm.
And I don't care what they have. I don't care if they have the scariest experience or the most beautiful. I just want them to have an experience and know at that moment that we are eternal souls on this planet having an experience and get them out of thinking all there is this 3D reality. And I feel if the more people can wake up and experience what we've experienced, like we know the truth, all projectors know the truth of we are eternal souls, because we're leaving our bodies and having spiritual experiences a lot of times. My only thing is, I don't care what experience somebody has. If someone can get into this and get an experience, then I've achieved what I'm out for as far as trying to help humanity because like I mentioned, I've been telling people for years and my stories is not enough to drive somebody to want to do it, because you have to want to do it and otherwise it won't happen. So this is one thing. The other thing is the coil I showed you that I have in my image here. Something else that I had this under my bed programmed to the pyramid frequency, which is the same angle of the pyramid. And when I put this coil under my bed, the first time I did it was the most powerful. It had me ejected out of my body so fast, it had my head spinning. I wasn't completely out. I was still attached by my head and shoulders, but I could feel my legs were already in the air. I was like, oh, like it was amazing how fast it happened for me because this coil is creating a vortex. And, if I tell people to visualize a room, wherever this coil is, visualize the coil is the drain of your bathtub, and you've just pulled the cork and the water is starting to vortex down. That's what this coil is doing energetically in the room. The entire room's energy is been created into a vortex. And so, like I mentioned, there's different frequencies you could program. I do a lot of Schumann resonance. I've had people tell me pains in their body have gone away being around the coils for a few minutes. And that's been for years. I've been making these coils for years now, all sizes and small. I have like these small ones I make here. These are my little hand
Nice.
jammies. I
How
just
long
had
does something like that take to make?
when I have all the wire ready and everything, because it takes a little time to make the wire. In fact, I'll show you another video that I had to build a machine to make the wire because it was so time consuming. But once the wire's ready and I just have to wind it, it'll be a couple of hours to get even a small one made because one little mistake, you have to undo everything in order to get everything to line up properly when you're wrapping it.
Hmm.
And the large coil has about 2,500 feet of copper wire in it. And so that's wire machine. Okay.
Those create toroids.
Yeah, that'll create vortex. It is a toroid, its own shape. Programmed, it'll create a vortex of energy. And like this is my tornado spin. And the machine is completed now. I'll show you. I needed to change my pulley. This was the original pulley I had on here, and you can see the new one is much larger. That's to change the gear ratio so that the machine would spin a lot faster to twist the wire even more. See, all the spools here, I have 24 spools. Only 16 of them have wire on it right now. They all go through their individual eye hooks and through the center eye hook. And from there it comes out. As you can see, comes down
Oh wow.
to the spool and wraps around the spool. So I'm going to demonstrate the machine working now. Assistant, come in. That's my brother. As you can see, the wire is twisting. I'm getting a nice twist here. You can see barely turned it, and this is already spinning really fast. As it's wrapping around the spool on the bottom here. This is what I didn't have before with the smaller pulley on it. So now I have the correct amount of twist on the wire.
That's cool.
Anyway, that's the Litz wire machine. I had to build that machine so that I could make the coils, because what I was doing before I built that was as long as the wire was needed for whatever size coil I was making, I had to walk that down my block, So I might walk 250 feet and I have to do that 24 times because I need 24 strands of wire. And then I twist it with a drill to get the twist on it. But the problem I was having is grass might get in the wire or something, and so anyway, I built that and that made life way easier. But the coils were really amazing. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody like you that I could have test, so I could get an independent thought on the functionality of the coils for the purpose of leaving body. Like I mentioned, many people who bought my coils bought it for meditation. Some people bought it for pain relief. And the main thing I would tell people is the coils programmed to whatever positive frequency you choose would be a counter to all the negative frequencies that are around you that you have no control over. Every radio station's pumping out 50,000 watts, cell phone, Wi-Fi, the EMF from the walls, depending on what kind of shielding you have. You could be negatively affected by EMF coming from your walls. And so there's a lot of radiation that's negative to the human body, and this coils are the counter to it. So when it's on, it's pumping out good frequencies and it's countering all the bad shit that you have no control over. Most of it you don't. Obviously, you could turn off your cell phone and Wi-Fi when you're ready to go to bed, but most people don't, and they're
Yeah,
constantly
with
bombarded.
somebody like me, I'm targeted, um, not just from the normal stuff like the Wi-Fi and your cell phone and the 5G and stuff, but I'm targeted on a whole nother level, with technology. Um, they got my name and number, and they know they want to keep me from hitting the astral. So I've been trying to counteract that, and that's actually originally why I got in touch with Dan Winter and started to get into the whole tech side of things, because I'm trying to block them from blocking me, basically, because they're using synthetic telepathy, and they're using machines, and they're using clones, and they're using all sorts of stuff,
Yep.
in order to target me. They're using clones of me, and they have, you know what I mean? I've woken up inside of these clones before. I've woken up inside of these cyborgs before. And they're doing all sorts of experiments and trying to block me and trying to trap my consciousness into certain realities. And so yeah, I could definitely test something out like that and let you know if it actually does, work, on that level.
Yeah, for sure. That would be good. So
That would be huge if it does actually, if it does actually work and stuff, and protect me, and if I was able to, because I'm being interfered with on major levels, like, I've had tracking systems put on me, astral tracking systems, implants, etheric implants. I mean, you name it, they've done it to me in order to keep me from accessing the astral. That's what a nuisance I am to the powers that be, that don't
yeah,
want me to be doing what I'm doing in the astral realms. They've
you've
tried
met
to discourage me in
you
so many different ways.
you know of do you know of Drunvalo Melchizedek? You know who he is?
No.
Well, I think that's going to be huge for you. I would highly recommend taking the workshop. I think now it might be for free. It would be even better if you could find a facilitator that's local to you and actually go in person, because you get a different energy from it. But you can learn the techniques online. I think it's on YouTube. But the meditation is Drunvalo. He went around to all the different religions all around the world. Long story short, he took the best of what he learned from all the different, the Hopis and all the Aborigines. Like, he'd been around the world, and he learned everything, right? And he put this program together that is so incredibly powerful. And I'll just tell you what it is. It's basically the meditation. You don't bother doing anything if you can't get the first part done. The first part of the meditation, the most important, is to connect to the Trinity. So first, you basically build up the feeling of love for Mother Earth, and you send it to Mother Earth. You know, and I always just visualize energy going straight down to the center of the earth. And there have been multiple responses that I've got that have just been amazing when Mother Earth responds. And I'll give you the most powerful one. I did the meditation, you know, lotus position a lot of times, but I've also done it laying down. So this one time I was laying down doing the meditation. I sent love down. Moments later, a response came. I got hit in the heart from Mother Earth with a spiral that just got so big. I felt light. It was incredible. So the next part, you take that. Now you send love to Father Sky, right? Which is the sun. That's where I send it. So I envision I take Mother Earth's love, I take the love, send it to the sun, wait for response. Response from sun is subtle for me. When I feel it's subtle. Feel that, then the Trinity part. Then you build your love up again for all life on earth. And I always just envision a wave leaving me, covering the earth. I'll envision grass, insects, people, animals. You know, it takes a fraction of a second to envision it. And I envision this wave going out. So once you have the Trinity, then you can proceed with the rest of the meditation. If you don't do that, if you don't make those connections, everything else is just, you're just wasting time. And so the meditation, what will be taught if you were to take it, is the first day you're taught about geometry, flower of life, you know, Metatron's cube, you know, everything geometry related. Then you're learning that in meditation, and this is something I can ask you if you've experienced or not. There's a technique. Drunvalo teaches it. He calls it your heart having sex with the brain. And some really powerful, wild shit happens when you do this. When you're in meditation, and you could do just this part without knowing the whole Trinity, you could just, with the tip of your tongue, you touch the roof of your mouth, and you go all the way back till you reach the soft tissue.
You have to think of this sex because it's very much like sex. I mean, you can't. The alpha is only fired. The stimulation is only happening while the tongue is rubbing it. The moment you remove it, the alpha stops instantaneously. It requires stimulation, exactly like sex. There's no difference because it really is. So, and this is that there, and it's divided into 4 quadrants. No, this is the brain from the top of the head, and this is the nose, and this is this little bump right here. There's a relationship between this and the brain. I just want to get this out because it was kind of a pretty important discovery. This was my low quadrant, and I found out that if I massaged this quadrant diagonally across from here, this would cause alpha to be fired. If I just massaged only that quadrant would be where the alpha comes out of. And so normally if you're trying to do the whole thing, you just keep moving it around all 4 quadrants, back and forth or any way you want, but you have to keep moving it. There has to be a physical touch of the tip of the tongue on this point or nothing happens. You're in the tiny place of the heart. This is the key. None of this will work if you're not. And there is a relationship between here and this tongue that goes up on the mouth. That then goes up to this area up here where there is the thymus gland, and the pineal gland is kind of right nestled right in there, and then the chakras forward. So this, the heart space, is connected through the roof of the tongue onto the roof of the mouth. From there over to here begins to fire alpha. While you're doing that, the next thing that you have to do, you're waiting for this green light to appear. It hasn't appeared, so you have to keep doing this. Even when it does appear, you can't stop. If you ever stop, it's over. It's over in a half second. Everything. You got to start over.
And for me, what happens is, it's like a strobe light goes off in my mind. All of a sudden, I'm seeing, it's wild. But there's different things that'll happen.
Yeah, the strobe light is a normal thing that happens as I'm falling asleep. I don't have to do anything; it just automatically happens.
Yeah.
After about 5 minutes of just laying there with my eyes closed, the strobe light, and then there'll be these golden clouds. They'll come in waves.
Uh-huh.
These golden clouds, and then I'll feel a pressure in my pineal gland. It'll be like a compression.
Yeah.
And then these orbs, these really bright, intense, brilliant lights will appear, and that's my normal thing when you know, like somebody's probably tripping out on acid or mushrooms. It's like my normal state of being when I just close my eyes for a few minutes. Sometimes it's with my eyes open. I'll just be, you know, laying in bed or whatever, and there'll be huge lights appearing, huge orbs appearing. Like when you look up at the sky at night and you look at the Pleiades. You ever seen the Pleiades? It's just like this kind of dim light, but it's also kind of bright. It's an interesting, but I see that happen a lot. And then there's these big sparks of light also that happen.
Right.
That happen if the compression, and I think that's the implosion that Dan Winter talks about, is that I'm still getting caught up with all of his terms, his physics terms
and all that. Yeah.
I don't know what that stuff is yet, but the being embedded in the array, I mean, the type of word, because when I wake up from a lucid dream, or do you know what a meta dream is?
I'm not familiar with the term, but
I coined the term meta dream about a year ago, because I was having these dreams that it was like having 10 lucid dreams all at once.
Okay.
I was becoming so close to source that I was controlling multiple avatars and multiple dreams all at the same time. And when I woke up, I'm frozen in bed. I can move if I want to, but I don't want to, because of the experience that I just had.
Yeah.
Was so profound. And now here I am back in the 3D, and it's like I'm trying to process everything that just happened. And I'm just like, you know, what the fuck, man? Yeah. I mean, like, wow. And you kind of you want it to last. So
yeah,
it feels like, you know, when you were maybe making a model airplane as a kid, and all the pieces were in those plastic things, and you had to pop out. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm stuck. I'm embedded in this array, and I'm not sure if that's the same thing he's talking about or not. But that's what it feels like.
Yeah,
I'm embedded in this array, and all these lines of scintillating, you know, energy are all around me. Like, you know, I've had some very, very interesting experiences, and you know, this is the thing that I would like to tell people and show people is like, look, you're here. You are a soul that loves experiences. That loves experience. That's why you're here on Earth. You're here on Earth to have an experience.
Yep.
What people, I don't think people grasp how important and how addicted to experiences that their souls are. And that if you learn to control your reality and access these astral realms, access these states of consciousness, and change your own perceptual agreements so that you're able to mold your reality and create your reality, and to have these experiences, because these experiences that we're having in the astral realms are more real. They're more detailed. They're more colorful. They're more real than this
right now. Yeah, absolutely.
This.
Yeah. I mean,
way
the
more.
fact that your vision, your hearing, your sense of smell, everything is enhanced. Everything. It's way more. So you're definitely, there's no question you're imploding, because I mentioned to you that pressure wave for communication. that same pressure you feel, if you can connect with somebody and feel that pressure and they feel it, that's when you practice communicating telepathically. It's at that point. But what I want to get to with Drunvalo meditation, there's a technique and a plan as to what you'll be experiencing as you progress in this meditation. And basically, one of the steps is you'll see a green spiral in your third eye, is one of the things. And when you see that spiral coming out, obviously clockwise motion, that's one of the other signs that you know you're getting there. So basically, what happens, and this happened to multiple people who took this workshop. Not only are we activating our halo, because the Drunvalo in his literature about this workshop talks about Jesus Christ, the Jesus Christ halo, how we have these beams coming out of us as well. And there are pictures to show, paintings of Christ shows the halo, and then you'll see a beam like a cross. So we have these beams coming out of us. We have the unicorn beam that comes out of our forehead. And you measure yourself, you use your body as a measurement. From your tip to your chin, you'll see your hand fits. And so if you do this, this is how you could find your third eye. You take this measurement and move it up from your nose to up. Right here is for me. And then you take that again and go to the sideways. So here and here so my beams are coming out. And so when you're sensitive to the energy, part of the workshop, when you're in a group of people, is you're practicing extending the beams. We all have, I don't think you are one of these people, but the majority of people out there who aren't practicing what we are will have very small, tiny light beams, and it needs to be developed and stretched. And you'll feel it physically, and the person will feel it, whether it's somehow they'll feel it, whether it's physically, emotionally, different people sense things differently. But the main thing is, once everything's been activated, you've now activated your macabre. And your macabre looks exactly like this toroid I'm holding. So we have, in fact, you can't see it, I don't have a close-up right now, but there's two coils in there. There's a male and female, just like we have coming out of us. We have the male and female toroidal coil. In fact, Heart Math has proven it with camera equipment able to detect the energy fields, and they've proven there's a literal toroidal field coming out of you. And they're only able to measure it but so far, but I think it goes infinity. And multiple people who have activated their macabre have been tracked by Black Hawk helicopters. Shortly after activating, everyone that I've known, that I've spoken to, including myself, has ended up seeing Black Hawks close. We're like, what the fuck is a Black Hawk? I'm in New York City. There's no reason for a Black Hawk to be there. And in Brooklyn, in my area, I'm like, what the heck? And my buddy Ron, who's the one who I learned from, he would go to different places, and there'd be Black Hawk helicopters. So what we learned from Drunvalo, who taught us, is the government has satellites able to see these different energy fields. So when you light up, when you activate, you're lit up, and you could be seen by these energy fields. But what I'm getting to is important. This is the part I want to tell you. Once you've activated and you know the whole technique to activating, because basically it comes down to, after everything, you got your light beams going and your halos going, you envision yourself as a tiny being in your pineal gland traveling down your body, and you envision it, see yourself inside your own body. There's a lot of stuff you got to do. I'm just trying to give you the short version. You envision yourself going from your pineal gland down your body into your heart, and then you go into the tiny space of your heart, and then you go into the sacred space of the heart. And there's a few different techniques to getting in there. I always envision myself going into my heart from like my spine. I'll see myself going into my heart. And once you're there, now you can program, right? And I tell you, my favorite program I did from day one, I can't stand mosquitoes. And I program mosquitoes to be gone, as well as anyone around me is feeling love and happy. And then also very important, highly recommended, is that all dark entity and people with bad intentions do not see you. You are invisible. And this is how you can literally get yourself off of their satellites. You have to program it in, and you know already. You know, because you were just telling me this reality is not even as real as the other. So it's just a matter of programming it. And so we learned the technique to doing this. It was only 4 days, and the best money I spent, because I never meditated until I took that workshop, and just was blown away. And then meeting other people and hearing other stories, and all of this, nobody's doing any drugs. All of the stories, you tell people stories, they're probably like, "Oh, what kind of drugs you want?" Right?
Yeah, no, you
All the
can't
time.
do this. You can't do this type of stuff on drugs, man. You have to be
No, it doesn't
completely
work.
sober.
Yeah, it,
You
it
got to
won't
be
work.
completely sober, and you can't be drinking, you can't be smoking, you can't be doing nothing.
Right, right. It
Um,
will not work at all. I'm just saying, like when you're telling the stories, that's what I
yeah,
always get. People are like, "What drugs you doing? Are you doing
yeah.
LSD?" And that's another. I want to say something about LSD in a minute, but so the macabre is programmable, and once you program it, you can take that with you, obviously, into the astral realm, and that's why like this sphere of light that I envisioned around me came after I learned about the macabre field that we have, the toroidal field around us. So I just envision that lit up, and I envision it sometimes as a solid wall of light where I can't even see through it, and I'll use that if I'm trying to go through dense area of negative energy. You're just untouchable. You just flow through, and because I tell people, even before you pray, most people, I don't know what your background is, religious or whatever, but most Catholic Christian, I grew up Catholic, converted Christian in my 20s, and now I'm not anything. I believe in Jesus, but I've looked at so many religions. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual because I've astral projected. So I'm like, I feel like I'm a little bit above books and learning from that. But again, I had all kinds of experiences, and so once you are able to program your field and vibrate the vibration of love, that's all that's really needed. These entities, anything negative, doesn't they don't want that energy. They can't stand that energy. You walk around projecting the vibration of love, they're going to scatter like roaches in the light. And that's exactly what happens. And so this is the this is one of my techniques when I'm traveling, is to first get that feeling, get vibrating to love. And I was mentioning the prayer. That's also what I suggest people to do before praying, because now you're at the vibration. So basically, you're making a phone call. People who just pray, just use words, blah, 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 with no real thought or energy or feeling. It's like you picking up a phone and talking to it, and there's no phone call, no one at the end. But when you
Yeah, we're
get to the vibration of love, now you have the connection. Now you have a megaphone. Now you say your prayers.
been doing a lot of one-on-ones with people from the group, getting to know everybody. So
Excellent. How's that been? How's that experience? Because I looked at your
it's
channel, I'm like,
amazing, man.
I felt like from looking at your channel, it seems like we both started around the same time. And I was just wondering, did you also get that drive and motivation to create this around a year ago?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
around
guess
a
that
year
was
ago.
something, an energy that was hitting Earth, because I
Well,
felt it. You
Sophia
felt it.
Sophia Swaru, do you know who she is?
Is she the one talking about the Umer people? I
Yeah,
only saw one video of her.
Sophia Swaru. Yeah, Mari Swaru is her sister. Sophia Swaru is a little extraterrestrial girl, and she used to be in Earth's orbit. She's disappeared into the astral now, but I've been in contact with her. She's the one that got me to start the YouTube channel. She showed up in my bedroom one morning and said, "Hey, you need to start a YouTube channel."
Oh
And I
wow.
said, "I don't know how to do YouTube." And she said, "Well, you need to figure it out because you need to start a YouTube channel." And she says, "I'm bringing you into the disclosure." So I had a lot of telepathic communication with her and a lot of face-to-face contact with her in the astral. And we've been on, she's sent me on a lot of missions, and we've done a lot of this playing around.
Yeah.
Playing hide and seek in the astral is pretty fun.
Let me ask you something.
She'll hide in some high density realm somewhere, and I'll have to go find her. And when I find her, she gives me these little presents. It's pretty cool. So
I have a question for you before we go. Have you heard of the Law of One? No, I'm sorry, wrong book. The Emerald Green Tablets.
yeah, I've heard of them. I don't study Earth. I don't study Earth stuff.
No,
I don't
that's
know.
fine. I just want to say I mentioned two things. The Law of One is writings that were channeled through someone, and it's supposed to be Thoth the Atlantean. I was
Hmm.
also heard that that may have also been Archmichael Angel, that entity giving information. Basically, long story short, there was a bunch of information given about 1982, and a lot of the information wasn't proven until the late 90s and 2000s because we didn't have the technology then. And so basically, so many things have been proven to be true from these information that was given in 1982. And there's a lot of things spiritual on this planet, everything, pyramids, a lot of information. But there was another writing, and I didn't know anything about this writing, how true it was. And that's the Emerald Green Tablets. And that was also supposed to be written by Thoth the Atlantean. Now, when I first read this book, and it wasn't very long, it resonated with me really powerful because I was astral projecting already, and there were so many things being said in there that was just like, holy cow, this is wild. But only reason I asked if you were familiar with it because it does mention in the book about laying down, vibrating, and then going down to the holes of Amenti, which is supposed to be under the pyramid. Now all this pyramid stuff has come out, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm wondering now because I got to the point of thinking, all right, maybe this book was just made up by somebody. Although they're talking about, astral projecting, it was just not enough confirmation about the legitimacy of the Emerald Green tablets. I don't know. I spoken to some scholars that live in Egypt that research these things. They never saw the hieroglyphs that were on the emerald green tablets or even heard of it. They mentioned names to say in the astral realm, and I was kind of preparing to say those names because when you listen, it's supposed to be you're speaking to the creators. And I don't go around saying things that I'm not sure of because I'm not trying to invite anything evil to me. So I held off on saying it until I could get confirmation from other people. But since this recent pyramid discovery with the scans, it got me thinking about the emerald green tablets again. So that's why I was curious if you heard about them and what your thoughts are with it, and if you had said those names yourself, because they're names you're supposed to say once you're in the astral realm. You say
Hmm.
these names and you call to these entities who will open up the holes of a menti under the pyramid and open up the knowledge to you, right? It's all
That's
about
interesting because right
knowledge.
now I'm being blocked. I'm not being allowed into the pyramids. Which, if you've watched my videos, you know that I have history with the pyramids. Um, did you see any of the videos where I talked about the pyramids at all and going there in
I
the
saw one
astral
video where you were interviewed, and I just saw it today.
With Rich West?
I'm not sure. The older gentleman,
Yeah,
you were talking about
yeah,
the black sand, and that's
yeah,
linked to the
yeah, yeah,
fighting
yeah, yeah,
happening.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then once I got there, and the pyramids, they kind of disappeared. And then I went there, and it was all nice, lush green grass and hills and everything. And there were these rainbow lines on the ground, and and when I go into meditation and I check in, you know, to go back to the pyramids, it's like the Irma won't let me go back
Yeah.
right now because I'm an Irma. That's my race. So they won't let me go back there right now. I don't know why. It could be I'm just busy doing other things, you know, or it could be just to protect me because something's going on there now that they don't want me involved with.
How close have you been able to get?
Or it could be if I go there, I'm just gonna know too much.
How
Who
close have
knows?
you been able to get to them?
To what?
To the pyramids?
Right on top of them. I've been
Oh,
right to them.
okay. You just can't
Yeah.
get in or under?
Now, well, you know, I can through meditation, and there's a city under there. There's a huge city.
Yeah.
Um, and I can do that through meditation, but I'm not able to through the astral yet.
Right.
So, or I'm not allowed to. When I meditate before I go into the astral, and unless I'm just going there to do my sun chasing or what because I chase the sunny spots, I chase lucidity. I basically chase energy in the dreams. I'll go there and I'll climb or I'll fly. I'll just get as high as possible.
Yeah.
I'll get into the upper astral and I'll break through the astral ceilings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you heard me talk about these in
No,
my videos.
I heard you mention something that I just thought was the best, where you made your own, I guess, feet claws so you could climb up. Because I've ran into that where I couldn't get, I was like, I'm trying to fly higher and I can't go. And when you said that, I was like, oh man, I couldn't. Because I tell people all the time, imagine being Green Lantern and you have a ring and you can manifest. So manifest the claws on your feet and I could just climb up a building to get to that higher level. I thought that was ingenious. I loved it.
Yeah, so that was when I was practicing my shape shifting. So I'll go through these different stages of things. Like just recently, I went through the. Do you know what armillary ring is?
No, I don't.
It's a ring. It's a ring that it's like a circle, but it's a circles and it's a few circles within each other. And anyway, it's a very cool object to play around with in the astral. So it's basically a ring. I take it off. It turns into a sphere, a golden sphere, and it starts like if you were to hold like a bee in your hands, it would fly around. It would zip around in your hands like this, and it brings you higher in the astral. It makes you fly. So if you have trouble only flying, if you can only fly and you can only reach, say, like halfway up of a building or something,
right?
I can use this ring. I can take this ring off. I can open it up, and I can either hold it in my hands and it will take me higher. It's basically it raises frequency. It raises frequency beyond, you know, the limitation that you're experiencing at that moment. And then I can even open it up further and I can surround myself with it. And now I can use it as a flying machine.
Yeah.
And I can fly up high through all of the astral ceilings because that's what these entities are imposing upon me is they want to trap me in buildings.
Right.
They want walls and they want ceilings around me. They don't want me outside. They don't want me outside in nature.
I had that experience once as well, where I was actually it was from a lucid dream. So I'll just clarify for myself. I consider lucid dreams when I wake up from dreaming, and astral projecting when I intentionally lay down to leave my body. So that's the
Okay.
two. That's my definitions of the two. So if I'm lucid dreaming, it happened from a dream. So I was dreaming and I woke up in my dream, and all of a sudden I'm being tested, right? And I tell people that spirit will test you to see if you're ready to enter these rooms or these realms. But what happened to me this time was each room I went into was a different test about whatever it was. But and like one of the tests I failed, and I was upset with myself when I got up. I said, I can't believe, it was a simple test. I was in the projects where I lived, and someone comes up to me. I'm on my bike, and someone comes up to me, Harry, you gotta take this gun from me. And I take the gun, and I'm hiding it. And now I got the gun, and now I gotta hide, and worry about the cop. And all this negative shit started happening because I took the gun, and that was one of the tests in one of the rooms. And that was actually the last room that I fell. That was where I was so pissed. When I woke up, I was like, I was being tested. And I failed that one hardcore. I had to just say, no, I can't do that, dude. Whatever I should have done. But each room, each time I got tested in something, I couldn't leave. I would like these tests, like my entire project was inside this building. You know how it is in the astral realm. And so, yeah, I was inside a building, and each room was a different environment, almost like Star Trek, the hologram room. And it was a different test I was going through. And so I that's the one thing, when you said that, that's what I related to in my experience, was being tested in these different rooms. And so, yeah, that was
Yeah,
really fun.
my astral, my astral projection and my lucid dreaming are now merged, and they're interchangeable. They're merged together. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I'll jump from one into the other, and from the other into the other. They're kind of just both kind of one realm now. And they used to be separate, so I do understand what you're saying about I used to fall asleep. I used to be aware completely of my falling asleep until I was basically suspended in darkness, and complete darkness all around me. And that's when, that's when I was studying the Carlos Castaneda Art of Dreaming
Okay.
stuff. That was in my teenage years. And now I've changed my perceptual agreements with myself. So now it's all integrated. There's no, I'm not judging it as this experience or that experience. It's all just experience,
Right.
and I judge it by how coherent it is, how clear the clarity of it,
Right.
how long it lasts, things like that. You
I got,
know,
I got I got two more things I want to say to you before we go. And you say you're in Maine, so what are you 10 p.m. there now?
yeah,
Okay. So first thing I wanted to say, I was going to mention this before. At the beginning of last year, when I started the YouTube channel, as soon as I said I was going to start it and recorded my first video, didn't even put it out yet, I got attacked that night. And I hadn't been practicing at all. And I go to bed and I'm being choked, right? And I'm like, what the and I see a dark entity, and I wasn't expecting it. So I haven't been practicing, like, off with love though. I hadn't been practicing. So he got me, whatever entity got me. All I saw was a dark shadow, and I was being choked. And I realized, an entity's with me. I said to myself, so I was trying to play with it, but again, I hadn't been practicing. I'm being choked, I'm laying down in bed, and I go to play with it. I go to stick my tongue out. I go, I was trying to make it fun instead of being, scared, which is how I started because I wasn't expecting this. And so it was doing that. I started a little bit making it back off, but I wasn't in good practice. So I lost it. And then it started choking me even more. And I was like, right. And then I woke up and it was probably happening for like a good minute. It felt like a good 60 seconds, which feels like an eternity when it's happening. And I get up, first thing I do is I see if there's anything choking me for real. And I didn't have a shirt on, the blanket was down by my chest. I go, oh, there was nothing, choking me. So I was being attacked because my intention was to put these videos out. So that was one thing that happened. And then my last really great experience was I guess I'll call it lucid, kind of like you. It was extremely lucid dream. I didn't lay down to astral project. That's why I'm not gonna say that. But it felt like a regular astral projecting, where I was at a corner store in Brooklyn, and I go around the corner, I'm walking, and then I realize, oh, I'm lucid dreaming, and then I start flying, and then I'm floating. Then I go through some clouds, and I could feel the moisture hit my body everywhere. That's why I'm saying I astral projected, because when I astral project, I feel everything like that. Going
Hmm.
through clouds, I felt the moisture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That happened to me just
Yeah,
recently too. And
yeah,
this, and sometimes the smell
yeah, yeah, yeah.
can be
Everything
really, really strong.
really
I've
intense.
never smelled. Yeah, I've never smelled anything. So, like, the chemical fog, because we see things in the astral before they happen in 3D reality. I've seen these fogs coming in, and then it smells like chemicals, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
six months later, there's the fog coming in all these places that smell like chemicals on the earth. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
So
Um,
it's a wild thing. So anyway, that was the last experience I had, and like you mentioned, and like I know already, doing drugs, it doesn't happen for you. My wife, she doesn't astral project. She had the one experience with my niece. That previous night, she for the first time left her body, went up the stairs, and she told me she saw a dark entity in the corner. And that was the only time she ever projected, because I could never get her to do it, because I was, but I woke her up so many times after having experience. I was like, hey, wake up, I gotta tell you what happened. Excited from the experiences. I'm hoping in the next month or two I'll get my area set up so I can begin practicing again. I wanted to also say to you, when we mentioned LSD, is one of my beliefs for LSD. The people in the 60s taking LSD, seeing demons, were seeing the same entity I saw when I astral projected. The veil got lifted and they were able to see the entities, and not knowing what's going on, they were fearful. So they were feeding the entities, because the more fear you give off, the more they want to suck that energy from you. And so all the people who say they saw some demons they literally did see it, and they saw these entities that exist in the astral realm. The LSD allowed them to see it. So
mhm.
had I known them back then, I was not born yet, I would have told them, just love them. I don't care how scary they look, just love them. Just give them
Yeah,
love.
I mean, they love that fresh meat, though. You know what I mean? Those entities love the fresh meat. Like
Yeah,
somebody's never entered the astral
yeah,
before. They're like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Fresh meat,
yeah. But these are
Um,
people who just took LSD, not even entering the
yeah.
astral realm, but
Well,
the
I mean,
veil
that's
was
what
lifted.
LSD is entering the astral. I mean, if you think about it,
Energy.
what it is this. Okay, it's not actually a realm. It's not actually a place. The astral is a state of mind. It's a frequency range of perception. And what taking acid does is it right now your body is a filter. Okay? It's a filter, and it keeps you locked into a frequency range of perception. Okay? When you take acid, it increases your frequency range of perception so you can actually see these quote unquote other realms. But what is actually happening is it's all happening within you. It's all happening within us. It only becomes a collective reality when we both agree that, when we both have perceptual agreements with each other, and we actually agree to perceive a frequency as a specific thing. So if we both, and this was where perceptual agreements are, it really need to be understood, because when we have prenatal agreements also, and we have agreements that we're making in higher densities. So right now, somewhere in the astral, where our higher selves or ourselves are in a higher density, having perceptual agreements with each other, and here we are doing it in the 3D. But we're just a little faction or a little fraction of our true being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the communication and the telepathic communication going on between me and you right now is real. It's a real thing. It's really happening. Although we're not aware of it. We're not aware of the telepathy going on and the amount of information that we're exchanging with each other telepathically, because we're locked in to this small frequency range of perception.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It's wild because it's where I can hear from what you're saying. We have the same information. We just got there different ways, and that was part of me creating my YouTube channel, is just to show people, hey, this is how I got here. Because I
Yeah,
know there's different ways. I was
right.
like, this is what I did, and this is how I reached this point. So if you wanted, if you're a guy, female sees things differently, and things like that, female energy. But anyone interested in following this path and learning how I learned, this is what I did to get there. And I got a couple other tips and things I've been meaning to put out for people. Things, incredible experiences I had in meditation and stuff. But it's only for the people seeking the knowledge.
Exactly.
You can't get people who, and
Yeah,
anytime
when
I
I put
tell
my
someone,
YouTube out, when I put my YouTube out, I was not like, oh, I didn't care. I don't care how many views I get. I
yeah,
don't care how many followers I have. Whatever. I'm just doing my thing, man.
right,
I'm just having my experiences, and
yeah,
I'm sharing those. If it reaches one person, that's
that's
like,
what I
wow,
say.
that's awesome.
That's it.
Cool,
Yeah,
bro.
and I'm past
You
one
know?
person, so it's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I have people contacting me, every week, at least a few people every week, a new people are contacting me saying, hey man, I saw your videos, they're friggin' awesome.
yeah,
You
yeah. I
want to
just
get
got
on
a
you
message
want to get
today.
on a Zoom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
got
was
the
like,
same message
sure,
today. Someone's
let's
like, "Oh,
get on a Zoom.
I just saw 11 of your videos, man. Awesome." I was like,
Yeah, and it's great. It's like,
"Yeah,
wow,
yeah."
well, I'm glad Sophia told me to do the YouTube channel, because I would have never done it if she didn't tell me to.
But let me tell you, I was excited to see your channel just starting, and I was like, "Okay, we all got the note to the notice to create this for people." There's no doubt we're I don't know if I'm in the same group as you, but I'm definitely um I'm definitely out there. I've never been like anyone else. I've always been
If you're
different.
not in the same group, you're not far away.
Yeah, I'm in the group
You
right next
you
to you.
are you are in the Astral Academy group, though, aren't you? On Telegram.
Oh, I joined the
Oh,
group
okay, all
you
right,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
a
as
member
far
of
as
it.
like a soul group and stuff,
Right.
I
I
think
don't know what soul group I might be in or whatever.
we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as I get back into it, I got a pyramid I built. I gotta fill it with sand. Yeah. Anyway, I got a bunch of tools that I'm looking to get finished in use, like the egg I showed you, and I really, my intuition is screaming at me that this is gonna help people, and I need to build it. And so before I invest all the money, I was hoping to get someone like you to give me their input, your input on it, your higher self. Because I learned about higher self through the workshop I mentioned. We have a higher self. We have our soul that stays in the spirit realm is the higher self. And we can communicate. In fact, there's a whole technique about getting into your higher self and stuff like this. So we have our part that's not only in spirit world, but may also be in other bodies, depending on how advanced you are. You could be controlling multiple avatars right now on the planet. And
Oh,
so,
I am.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned the
I
clones
already
too and
know
all.
of other ones that I've. Yeah, the clones is a different thing, but I am controlling more than one.
Right. So that's another thing. But
Yeah,
listen,
that's a whole nother
I could
subject.
easily talk to you for a few hours, but I know you
Yeah,
gotta go. It's late by you.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of evidence points to pyramids, and not all pyramids, but the what is it? 71.345 degree angle pyramids, which are the pyramids you find a lot in India. So that steeper angle
Uh-huh.
is a better energy for longer life, and things like this. So that's the pyramids. I'm making these 3D parts to put together pyramids made from PVC pipes that you then, and this is not original. I got this from someone else. I just modified it and made it better, I think. But you fill the pyramid tube with high quartz sand, and that mass of energy will help to create your vortex in the pyramid, you know? So there's a lot of things I've experimented for a while. I have devices like the BioWell and the Sputnik. The Sputnik is the antenna that you connect to the BioWell to take readings of energies of areas. I build domes. So after I build a dome, I'll test the energies in the room to see how it compares to, another structure. Or I'll look for energy points to put my pyramid. You want to find the ley lines,
Right.
and things. There'll be
Yeah.
higher energetic points. Um, I hope to maybe by the end of this year have some of those things available for people after I finish doing all my testing. But yeah, I'm on that mission to stay young and using tools like this, pyramids and the egg chamber I want to build to help people leave the body and have spiritual experiences who don't believe in anything, to get them to
Hmm.
believe in what is the reality, what you and I both know to be the truth of this world.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I appreciate the Zoom. It's been good. Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure.
All right. Nice to meet you, man.
You too. Take care.
Peace.